Hi everybody, welcome to the farm at the North Grove. My name is Catherine and I'm the farm coordinator, and I'm going to be showing you around what we've done so far this spring. We've almost finished our spring planting and things are already growing, and we've done even some harvesting, so I'm really excited to show you around. So here we have some peas growing. We planted these a few months ago and we have these really great pea trellises that we're actually going to, when the peas are done, we're going to move them and use them for cucumbers as well. So you can see the peas are starting to grip onto the trellises, and they're going to climb up and they're going to end up being this tall, and we'll be able to pick lots and lots of peas. So these are doing really great. Trellises, one of our co-workers' husbands was kind enough to build for us. Over here we have some spinach. We have harvested it actually 3 times. We harvested it yesterday, so it doesn't look like there's much here, but that's because we're all eating it. We've harvested nearly 50 pounds of spinach so far, and given it out on our farm stall. And it's in kind of a shady spot, so it hasn't been bolting, even though we have had some pretty hot weather. We have some lettuce that's starting to come up. So this one's called Salad Bowl. We've got some Great Lakes that isn't doing so well for some reason. Prize head lettuce, this kind of multicolored lettuce over here. Further down, we have some chard, which is kind of being a little bit overtaken by weeds, but you know, we'll ignore that. The chard's doing fairly well. This is honestly one of the things I'm proudest of is our carrots. So we've got some carrots going. So we have pretty shallow soil here. It's only about 1 foot deep. So we're growing a variety of carrots that doesn't need a huge amount of depth of soil to grow. Carrots take ages to grow. It's like 3-4 months from seed to harvesting. So hopefully we'll get a nice crop of carrots. They had a rough time germinating, but we did it. I want to tell you about garlic now. So this garlic, you might remember we planted it with some help of some very special young farmers. We planted this in November. And you can see that the tops of our garlic got a little bit yellow, and I think that was because we had a couple of warm days, I think you might remember, in January or February. So the garlic started coming up and then it got cold again, so it got a little bit burnt by the cold, but overall the plant is really healthy, so I think it'll be fine. You can see on some of them, it's starting to put out some scapes. Some of these little tendrils are going to turn into garlic scapes. They are pretty delicious. And then we'll be harvesting the garlic in July or August. I planted a little butterfly garden over here for our pollinators. So here's some milkweed that is special for monarchs. They really like it. So right now you can see everything's a little bit small. These are mostly perennials, so they will be growing back every year and getting bigger and bigger and really filling out the space. So this one I bought as a seedling, and those are milkweeds that I grew from seed. So you can see they're really tiny, but I'm hoping in over a few years they'll grow into something really special. So we have our community garden beds over here, and they're doing really well this year. Everybody has been really dedicated and really been putting in a lot of time, and even some brand new beginner gardeners have been growing have been doing a really good job growing. So really pleased with how everyone's doing. Over here we have our asparagus patch. So this is also a perennial plant. It's kind of slightly unusual in the vegetable world is that it grows back every year, and it actually needs at least 2 or 3 years from planting to when you can actually harvest. So I think we are on year 4 or 5. So you can see down here we've got some asparagus spears that are ready to harvest. When you don't harvest them, they kind of turn into these tall bushes, which is actually really important for the plant to have some of these to be able to grow strong year after year. So here we have our kale. I know that last year people will remember we lost a lot of kale to flea beetle. This year, I put some insect netting on the kale over here to try and stop the flea beetle. I think possibly this year we're having a problem with either slugs and cutworm. And over here you can see this is cutworm damage. And they just come along, and those sneaky devils will just cut off a plant like this and then just leave the rest. They don't even eat it. You've got these 2 rows here where we've got some insect netting on them, and hopefully that will keep things doing well. So here are some new boxes that we've grown. These are going to be peas that are going to grow up the side of our children's play area, and we're going to have some nasturtiums that go down the front as well. So we planted these all up yesterday, and we'll be putting in some more cucumbers and things to grow up the side as well. So I'm excited about that. Last year we put in some berry patches. Here we have blueberries, and then over here are haskcaps. So you can see that they are already starting to turn purple. Oop, here one fell down. I'm going to snack on that later. So that'll be really, really nice to be able to pick. Of course, we have our currants and our raspberries, which some volunteers did a really amazing job weeding because the weeds were kind of out of control. And then over here we have turnips. So these are hacuri turnips. So these are honestly one of my favorite vegetables. They're really sweet. They are really nice roasted. So yeah, these are gorgeous. I love them so much. So the other day we actually thinned out the turnips. So we picked sort of every other turnip because they were all really close together. That'll give them more space so that they can get even bigger, because I think they can get sort of to about this size if you give them enough space. They're delicious like this though. And I want to introduce you to somebody. This is Emma. Many of you will already know her. She is our meal coordinator. And Emma also has lots of farm experience, so she's been helping me out, and you'll see her when we start our Farm Fridays. And she is doing some watering, and she will have a chance to tell you a little bit about the way that she's watering.
When I water, I try to spend quite a good amount of time on each section, because you want the water to get way down into the soil so that the roots can grow deep. And I find if you just do a little bit, you'll look at the soil and it will still be dry underneath. So if you just water a little bit, you can kind of move the top layer of soil aside, and you'll see that the soil's still dry there. So that means we need to put quite a bit more water in here. So I kind of just go back and forth a few times, and then I'll switch to the other row. You can see I'm getting a lot of runoff here. It's a waste of water, so I'm just gonna leave this for a moment. Give some time for the water to really sink in, and I'm gonna move on. I'll do the same thing here just a few times. I'm really making sure I wet all of the soil because that will help it absorb. And now I'm gonna move back to this section and go over it again. And yeah, I'll keep doing that. I'll move all the way down the row, and I'll move this way, and then I'll do the same thing coming back just to make sure I'm giving everything a really good soaking. So when we do it this way, we don't need to water nearly as often. I find we can, depending on how much it rains, yeah, we can probably get away with just doing this 1 or 2 times a week. I think it also helps the plants be a bit more resilient. They're not quite as reliant on the water. So, you know, if you have to miss a day, they're okay with that. And with these, I'm not worrying too much about getting water on the leaves. I think they can handle it, and they're still in the shade right now. If you get water on the leaves and it's a hot sunny day, it can actually burn the leaves. Some plants don't like their leaves getting wet. Tomatoes, for example, they really don't like to have wet leaves, and it can cause diseases like blight. So whenever I water tomatoes, I make sure I go just right at the base of the plant and try not to get any water on the leaves.
Thanks so much everyone for joining us, and I hope you will come by the farm at some point, take a look around and see what's growing.